Hard Brexit, soft Brexit. Well, this for some is not an issue. As Prime Minister Theresa May said, Brexit means Brexit, complete withdrawal. But can the government act unilaterally without having to go to a vote in Parliament? Is it possible that we can sidestep this issue? Is it an issue at all? David Buik joins us now from Panmure Gordon, raised market commentator. First of all, the extra element that's been thrown into the argument now about the fact that Parliament will have to vote ultimately on this. We don't know yet, that is for a fact, but is that an extra element that we don't need here in these Brexit negotiations?
I think, Jeremy, we're in a real bind. And I think Theresa May, our Prime Minister, is in a real bind. Let me try and explain. Basically, OK, 17,400,000 people voted to go out, but 16 million people were none too happy with that. Now, you can say, first past the post, unlucky, job done. But this is probably the biggest decision, and I am a Brexiter, I make no apology for it, but this is the biggest decision this country has made since 1945, without a doubt. And what Mrs May has to weigh up is the will of the people, which is 17.4 million people. And much of this was achieved, remember, in my humble opinion, it is my opinion, not as a result of the European Union referendum, but this was a chance to protest on social inequality and a dislike of the establishment. In my opinion, there's no doubt about it.
So it's a populist vote rather than anything.
Yes. I mean, I don't think the EU, if you speak to any pollster, he will tell you the most people were ever engaged was 32% of the population. So let's deal with what we've got now. The fact is, you and I both know, you give this vote to the House of Commons, at least 400 out of the 650 members of Parliament are Remainers. So that gives Mrs May a serious, serious problem. Because it's all very well saying Parliament is the democratic process. Yes, it is. But if the people say they want something and Parliament turns it over, well, democracy's gone. So what I think she has to do, and I don't have the answer to this, and I don't think anybody has the answer, and one of the reasons you and I discussed before coming on camera is what's happened to the pound, apart from this, is uncertainty, because we don't know. What does hard Brexit mean? What does soft Brexit mean? I have no idea. I think people think hard Brexit means that you and I snarl against each other at the other end of the table, saying, I want this, and you say, I want that. It's not that at all. It's how you achieve unanimity of purpose, us going out with goodwill, as much as we can expect, knowing that those people who voted to go out actually feel like me that the European Union in 5 years, as we know it today, will not exist. But you love each constituent country in it. Now, hard Brexit means this is our terms, there's no give at all in terms of immigration. You and I both know, and even though I'm a Brexiter, I think immigration is so important for this country. Yeah. But the fact remains, and this is the real clear point, how do you achieve, or how does David Davis, how does Liam Fox, how does Boris Johnson, with all that rhetoric, which when it comes to the end of the day means absolutely nothing. When Lord Gus O'Donnell appeared on the BBC about 3 months ago, he said he thought it would take 10 years. If you had, whatever it is, 40,000 pieces of legislation on the book to repeal them or bring them back to the UK and deal with the European Union. The European Union can't even deal with Canada. It's taken them 4 years. United States, laughable. They wouldn't, if as long as night follows day, that will never happen. So, how do you achieve it? I think simplicity is the only way of doing it. I think, even though he is a bit of a maverick, but a great friend of mine, Bernard Jenkins, the Tory MP, is right. I think you say goodbye. And you deal with each country on merit, as a friend.
That sounds very good. That sounds a wonderful way for the markets to approach it, if it can happen that way. In the meantime, uncertainty. Markets hate uncertainty. We had this flash crash the other day for sterling. Do you see that, however long it takes, there is going to be a real downside potential for the markets in the middle of all these negotiations? Or do you think the markets will come through and they'll see through all of the rhetoric?
I was very pleased to see Lord Mervyn King, as a midfield player, put his foot on the ball and have a look up and say, come on, it's not all bad. And it's not all good. But he thinks the level of hysteria that has been adopted towards this has exacerbated the problem. Of course, but as he pointed out, and he's absolutely right, the world's growth was on the decline before Brexit. Slowly, slowly, it was all coming down. The United States, we thought we were going to have 2.5% growth this year, 1.6 now. We were going to have 2%, 1.6 now, and so on and so forth. So gave the protagonists and the establishment the opportunity to trash it for purpose. You know, this is mad. We're going out. The new generation knows that they've only known anything about European membership, a passport, going here, going there. Everything's simple. I can go and have a job there. They can come and have a job here. It's all changed now. It's all changed, but it could be the change for the good, because if we do it properly, with decency, with kindness, with love, with affection, it can work, and it will work.
Francois Hollande's problem with that is the fact that if a lot of people in France see that it's an easy, simple process and it's a quick divorce, but it's an easy sort of get together as friends afterwards, his problem is he's going to have an electorate saying, well, we want a bit of that. Angela Merkel, same thing, German.
They're all going to say it, because in point of fact, it brings, the European Union is a bureaucratic nonsense that brings nothing to the party.
So ultimately it's going to be a big new relationship.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah.
We should have redecided and redesigned the relationship.
Yeah. In the meantime, UK economy is doing well, relatively speaking. Is that going to be sustainable? Do you see the economy performing?
I see a few potholes in the road, inevitably, because as people, the European Union, as they see it, have got a lot to lose. So you're going to get a lot of this.
Yeah.
Started with Jean-Claude Juncker, Wiedmann from the Bundesbank, various other people. They're all going to say, you ain't going to get anything out of us, and we're going to shrug ourselves. And behind locked doors, you're saying, oh, yes, you are going to get something out of us, because you have a lot of trade to do with us, and we have a lot of trade to do with you. So let's be pragmatic about this, and let's be sensible. What I don't like at the moment is the rhetoric, and I think a lot of the rhetoric is coming from the hard right, and, you know, this intransigent way of looking at life. You and I both know, Jeremy, that it's not going to work that way, because if it does, we'll get nowhere fast.
Okay, sage advice. David, thank you much indeed for joining us. David Buik there from Panmure Gordon.